What's going on, vinyl community? Welcome to another video with the Record Spinner. In today's video, I'm going to be doing something completely new and different on this channel, and that is a new segment called Grab and Go. Now, if you are a vinyl collector and you have a rather extensive collection, chances are you use Discogs to catalog your collection, but what's really cool is that when you go to the collection tab on your account, there is a random item function where you click on it and it brings up a random record out of your database for you to view. And I thought that this would be a rather unique way to showcase my collection a little bit, kind of dive deeper. It's kind of similar to Whack-A-Mole. It's also similar to what I do with my girlfriend Sam called Recall That Memory, where she picks random albums from my collection, shows it to the camera, and then I kind of talk about them. So we'll see what Discogs can do in this kind of situation. So enough of the chit chat. Let's jump into what this video is all about. As you see on the screen here, this is my Discogs account. This is where my entire vinyl collection is cataloged. And let's see what exactly I will show first. All right, let's pull this bad boy out. All right, here it is. Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry. Fantastic hair metal album from the 80s. Of course, on here we have We're Not Gonna Take It and I Wanna Rock. Those are the two big ones. But my personal favorite on this record is the little kind of drama-filled Horror Terria, which includes Captain Howdy and Street Justice. Just some really, really awesome 80s hair metal on this. Mo-Fi recently did a pressing, which is kind of shocking that they would go as far as to kind of do, you know, Mo-Fi pressings of this kind of genre, because they're not really too well known for that kind of thing. Now, the version that I have is a reissue that I believe Rhino did for Rocktober a couple years back, or maybe Start Your Ear Off Right, one of those campaigns. What's interesting is that there is a slash across the barcode, so I suppose you can call it a promo copy. Comes with a rather cool poster, which, as far as I know, I have not seen this poster with my dad's original pressing that he had back in the day. There's also a, let's see, what else do we have? We have a printed inner sleeve here that the record came in, which has some pictures of the band members as well as the lyrics. And of course, perhaps the main big draw for me picking up this particular pressing is the colored vinyl. Look at that. That is just some absolutely beautiful marbled pink vinyl. We got some flecks of black in there. Looks like we have some purple hues a little bit. Just an absolutely gorgeous pressing, and definitely one I'm very happy to own in my vinyl collection. All right, let's do this again. What are we gonna have now? Cool. All right, kind of have to go to the other cube that is off camera to get this one. And here it is, the Yes album by Yes. Came out back in 1971. One of the earliest classic Yes records here, because you have a bunch of classics on this. You have Yours Is No Disgrace, Clap, Starship Trooper, I've Seen All Good People, Perpetual Change. Hell, even the deep track on this, Adventure, is a fantastic song. I got this, I believe, I want to say for Christmas back in 2015, the vinyl copy, I mean. And I mean, of course, I was subjected to this growing up as a kid on CD. This was probably the first Yes album that I went to kind of get into them. And one of the really cool things, like the cool memories that I have linked with this record, is that when I got my my most recent turntable setup, which is the U-Turn Orbit turntable with the Pluto preamp. This was actually the first record that I played on it, and I actually listened to this with my mom because she is a huge Yes fan. So I figured, what better album to kind of crack in the new setup with than Yes's The Yes album. Let's see, what's next? Ooh, interesting. So check this out, guys. This is Iron Butterfly Live. I think I've showed this fairly recently in my April vinyl haul video. So I had done a collaboration video with a bunch of guys called the Tri-State Record Gang. So there's Bill over at the Vinylverse, Mike at Jam on Vinyl, Mike over at My Guitar Player 07, along with Chris Prophy, Musically Obsessed. And we talked about bands that are underrepresented in the VC. And Chris had picked Iron Butterfly, and he was showing some of their albums. And I have their first two in my collection, but after he was talking about them, I was like, let me check out this particular live album of theirs. And I remember I had this on CD when I was in middle school, because back when I was in the 6th grade, my best friend and I, we had a band at the time, and we would always jam to the riff of In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. And I guess my music teacher overheard us jamming to that, and he gave me a CD copy of this album. And I haven't listened to it in so many years. And I saw that the label that had actually reissued this album, which is a label called Friday Music, they were running a sale. They had it on sale on their website, but of course I do my research. I go on the Discogs, and there it was, a copy, VG Plus near mint, for $7. You absolutely can't beat it. Gave it a listen, and honestly, it rocks. This is a really great live album. I think, aside from, of course, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida taking up the entire second side, a couple of my favorites on this is Filled with Fear, especially You Can't Win, which has this really great, organ-driven riff kind of going through the entire song. Really awesome. This is definitely a great psych live album to check out if you have not heard of it for yourself. Cool, all right. Get back to the classics. Let's see, where's this thing? All right, so here is the Rolling Stones Through the Past Darkly Big Hits Volume 2. This includes a lot of some of the later 60s, hits that the band had. I have a lot of fondness for this compilation because I remember, I think I actually got like an 80s pressing for Easter one year as a kid because I was really into getting into the Stones back then. So I had an 80s version. It was remastered and everything. And I think I might still have it somewhere, but the copy that I have here, as I'll show, is the Record Store Day version, stereo version, of course. And it comes pressed on orange vinyl, which is pretty sick. And it's also pressed very well too, and it sounds killer. But honestly, the track list on this compilation, it's one of those cases of flawless compilations, because you have Jumpin' Jack Flash, Mother's Little Helper, Let's Spend the Night Together, Street Fighting Man, She's a Rainbow, Ruby Tuesday, Honky Tonk Women. It's all fantastic stuff. I love how they replicated the octagon sleeve, which is pretty cool. Opens up like that. Now, the record did come in like a printed inner sleeve like this, and of course I like to store them in the nice anti-static ones. So when you place the record in like this, it does look a little wonky once it's in, but of course it's all for the sake of protecting the record, as you can see like that. Hopefully I can get some rounded ones, but yeah, this is just a fantastic compilation, one that I have a lot of fondness for, and simply just has a bunch of the Stones later 60s hits. All right, cool. Getting into some really cool limited edition pressings here. All right, and here we go. So this is the Raconteurs live at Third Man Records. The Raconteurs is a basically super group. You have Jack White of the White Stripes, Brendan Benson, who is a fantastic singer-songwriter. Then you have Jack Lawrence and Patrick Keeler of the band The Greenhorns. And this particular release was released as part of the Third Man Records Vault subscription service. This is from package number 10, which I believe came out at the tail end of 2011. And this release is the band's performance at the Third Man headquarters on September the 14th, 2011, day after my birthday. What's cool about the headquarters of Third Man is that attached to the record store is a live room called the Blue Room, and they have all kinds of bands play, comedy acts, spoken word poetry, and whatnot. And they'll often record those shows and release them as part of their label catalog. And in this case, they released this as part of the Vault package. And what's really cool is that for all of Third Man's releases, there's a standard black vinyl version for the mainstream public, and then there's a colored variant for, let's say, in the case of the live shows, for people that attended the show, they'll offer copies available for those people. And I'll show you how this one looks. Split color black and blue vinyl, which is absolutely cool. However, when I played it, the performance is awesome, but the pressing itself, there's like a swishing effect going between the channels. So I'm not quite sure if it's because of the split color pressing technique, or it's the sheer fact that this was pressed at United. But nonetheless, it is a solid performance, and it also is a rather attractive piece of colored vinyl in my collection. Ooh, interesting one. Awesome. Let me pull this one out. All right, so here is The Doors live at the Matrix 1967. This is a great live release that came out for Record Store Day back in 2017. This has a rather interesting backstory. The whole Doors Matrix recordings themselves have an interesting story. So basically, the owner of the Matrix would always record the bands that were playing on whichever night. And of course, he had the shows that the Doors did in his possession, and I believe they released a few tracks as part of the 1997 Doors box set. And then in 2008, Rhino Bright Midnight Records did a 2 CD set called Live at the Matrix, but apparently they used, I guess you could say, inferior sources. They weren't the first generation tapes, so I suspect that they were like bootleg sources. So that kind of was a whole big controversial thing, and it was something about, at a certain point on this year, they'll get the tapes and there's going to be a whole box set coming out. Never really happened, but when the 50th anniversary of the first Doors album came out, they included a CD in the deluxe set of some recordings from that Matrix show from newly discovered tapes. Marketing, essentially. And that's what they used for this vinyl release. And this record here is very, very valuable. I had missed out on this back when it came out for 2017. I think that's simply because I was so occupied with getting the Pink Floyd Interstellar Overdrive 12-inch. That's a whole other story itself. And for the longest time, this was so hard to come by for a cheap price. It was always like $80 or higher. It was crazy. And then literally I got a notification because I added it to my my want list on Discogs. Someone had a copy. I think it was like maybe $40, and I figured at that point I might as well. And I'm so glad to finally have it in the collection. It was definitely something that I was longing to have, because I had Volume 2, which came out the following year. But of course, since I'm a completist, I had Volume 2, but I did not have Volume 1. So it kind of just irked me that I could not get my hands on it for the life of me. But then one day, it finally happened. Ooh, cool. All right, so David Bowie Pinups. This came out back in 1973. This was kind of like the last nail in the Ziggy coffin. As you can see, he's still kind of portraying the Ziggy Stardust character. This is a covers album of a bunch of favorites of his from the 1964 to 1967 kind of time frame. We have covers of The Who's I Can't Explain, Friday on My Mind, Sorrow, that was like the big single off of this, Shapes of Things, Where Have All the Good Times Gone. It was this album that I actually heard the song See Emily Play for the first time. Of course, See Emily Play is a Pink Floyd tune, and Pink Floyd ended up becoming my second favorite band, and this was my introduction to that song, and I even loved Bowie's version so much. It has a nice, crunchy Mick Ronson guitar riff kind of driving the whole tune, and then I listened to the Floyd's version as I was getting into the Floyd, and I'm like, I'm still sold on the Bowie version. I think I've completely converted to the Floyd's version, but I absolutely love what Bowie did with it. And I used to listen to this a lot growing up as a kid when I was collecting Bowie's catalog on CD. I think I was in like the 3rd grade when I first heard this album. And I definitely have a lot of fondness for it. And honestly, I think it's about time that this found its way back on my turntable. It's been a long time since I've last heard it. All right, let's do one last pick for this video. All right. So Dream Theater, Once in a Lifetime. Now, this live album came out back in 1998. This was recorded at Le Bataclan from Paris. This is a 4 LP set, not even the entire show that the band did. There's more of the show that was not released, but it basically includes A Change of Seasons, Just Let Me Breathe, Pull Me Under, Metropolis, Hollow Years. I mean, a whole bunch of great Dream Theater tracks up until 1997. Crazy how I got this version. So I saw this on eBay listed at $15, and right off the bat, 4 LPs, $15, absolutely hands down. And this is on the Music on Vinyl label, and it's kind of like a third man thing where there's always the black vinyl run that's always available, and then there's a colored variant which is often limited. Upon receiving this, I noticed that it was indeed numbered. And of course, that meant only one other thing. Marbled blue vinyl. So, just to think, limited and numbered, colored vinyl, 4 LPs, $15. One of the greatest, wisest purchases I've ever made. It's absolutely crazy. Now, unfortunately, the downside is they just fit it onto a gatefold sleeve, and there's 2 LPs in each pocket of the gatefold, which they could have maybe done like a box or like a triple gatefold, something elaborate. But nonetheless, you really can't complain because it is value for your money. So there you guys go. That is the first video of my new Grab and Go segment, where it's random picks from my Discogs / vinyl collection. If you want to see more videos of this sort, please let me know down in the comment section below so I know whether if I should do a follow-up video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support this channel, be sure to check me out on Patreon. See you guys in the next video, and most importantly, keep the records spinning.